But I want to talk to you about my library books. Checked them out this week, a few days ago. They're due back June 9th, so it's about a 2-week reading period, which is cool, and I can renew them if need be, since it's 4 books and I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm also in the middle of Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray, so I've read about how many pages? 225. It's decent, it's good progress, I'm really enjoying it. But I would, I was reading Piranesi by Susanna Clarke as like, a lighter version for when you don't want to read that many words, because it is dense writing. But I finished that and I need some more books, and so I decided I'll go to the library to supplement my reading. So I'm gonna do a haul, but I need to finish these before the due date, because on 10th June I'm going on holiday for about 10 days, so I'd like, for it to be done by then. The sun's gone, so sad, but this is what we're working with. Okay, so I think the first book that I'm going to start with from this, which I really wanted to for a while, is Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. I can never say his name. I kind of had put him into the box of being like this dusty old writer who just wrote about kind of hoity-toity aristocratic English stuff. I don't know if that's an unfair assessment, but I do think it obscures quite a lot of what's going on. I think I'd also mistaken him for some other writer who, I don't know what his name is, but does it really matter? Anyways, I think we all know this as one of the main influences or inspirations on Saltburn, and I think it pulls pretty heavily from some of the details, especially judging from the back of the cover, which says Brideshead Revisited looks back to the golden age before the Second World War. It tells the story of Charles Ryder's infatuation with the Marchmains and the rapidly disappearing world of privilege they inhabit. Enchanted first by Sebastian at Oxford, then by his doomed Catholic family, in particular his remote sister Julia, Charles comes finally to recognize only his spiritual and social distance from them. So, it's a nice floppy copy. I don't think it's actually too long. It's about, 300 pages? Yeah, 333 in this copy. That's so fun. Yeah, I also think the main character is not a creep in this like he is in the movie, so I'm excited to read that. Then the next thing the next one I picked up, actually it isn't this one, it's not this one, it's Hagstone by Sinead Gleeson. This is a contemporary fiction novel. It's about this artist called Nell who feels this island that she's on is her home. It's a source of inspiration for her art, rooted in landscape, folklore, and the feminine. The mysterious Inions, a commune of women who have travelled there from all over the world, consider it a place of refuge and safety, of solace in nature. Basically what happens is there's this weird sound that emanates from the depths of the island, which the Indians call a summoning, and then one day they invite her to come into their community and make a piece of art. So very mysterious. I love books that involve some sort of culty group. This also seems like quite gothic when I did a quick flip through and looked at the reading. And it's also set by the sea. I really love novels that are set by the sea and describe it quite a lot. So I think this is going to be fun. I also think this is going to be a quick read. I go through contemporary fiction much faster. So this is also going to be, I think, one of the early ones. The other two are collections of short stories. So in the short stories, I have A Phantom Lover and Other Dark Tales by Vernon. Look at that cover. So good. It's a Yeah, it's edition of British Library Tales of the Weird. I probably shouldn't show it in the camera like this, it's all mirrored. But Vernon Lee is a pseudonym or, writing name nom de plume of Violet Paget, a British author and essayist who is outspoken in her feminist and pacifist views and also her relationships with women. She was born in 1856, passed away early, 1935. These are some tales of lonely souls possessed by recurrent tragedies of the past, holy sanctuaries, disrupted by unruly pagan forces, and aspiring youths enthralled and consumed by the undying art of their ancestors. And yeah, I love a gothic tale. So I'm really gonna enjoy this. Henry James calls Vernon Lee as dangerous and uncanny as she is intelligent. So looking forward to that. I do think maybe I'll check this out again so that I can soak it up, or maybe if I can find a secondhand copy, I'll buy it, depending on how much I like it, because it sounds promising so far. And then the last one I have is Sheridan the Fanu in a Glass Darkly, which is another collection of short stories. He wrote Carmilla, which was the inspiration for Stoker's Dracula, and Carmilla is also included as a story in this. Another quote by Henry James: "The ideal reading for the hours after midnight." So that could be fun, some midnight reading. Not tonight, because I have to get up early tomorrow. But yeah, these stories are... Sorry, I had to take a cough break. But they're presented as being a collection or stories collected by a Dr. Hesselius, who's like the forerunner to the modern psychiatrist, but calls himself a metaphysical doctor who is willing to consider ghosts both as real and as hallucinatory obsessions. So I think that's quite interesting. More about Sheridan the Fanu, known in 19th century Dublin as the Invisible Prince because of his reclusive and nocturnal habits. He was fascinated by the occult. His writings draw on the Gothic tradition, elements of Irish folklore, and even on the social and political anxieties of his Anglo-Irish contemporaries. In exploring sometimes inexplicable horrors, these 5 tales focus on the unease of the haunted, men and women, rather than on the visitant. So, yeah, probably going to start with Brideshead Revisited and maybe do some stories from this. I will say all of these copies, barring Hagstone, and I also think Brideshead Revisited have an introduction, so I just love a good introduction in a book as well. But yeah, we're just gonna have to make a start. Just don't get like exceptions. So, the update is that I finished Hagstone and Phantom Lover and Other Dark Tales. However, I did not finish Brideshead Revisited. And today is June 10th when I had to return. I think I said June 9th in the beginning. It was actually June 10th. I'm about almost 150 pages through Brideshead Revisited, and it's really good, and I kind of wish I started in the beginning. However, that's not what's happened. So, I just renewed it, and I'm taking it with me on holiday. Thoughts on Vernon Lee, Phantom Lover and Other Dark Tales. Really, really beautiful, lush, descriptive writing. It was thrilling, it was suspenseful, it kept me gripped, you know. I wanted to read the stories, and I think there are about 8 short stories in there, of varying lengths, but my favorites were definitely Winthrop's Adventure, A Phantom Lover, and I forget what the other one that I really liked was. I'll put it somewhere what the last one I really liked was. But yeah, I really enjoy her writing, and I think short stories, surprisingly, the ones like these, I found really easy to get through. Usually I feel like sometimes I'm just like, either I wanted the story to be longer, or I'm not like fully gripped in, maybe because I know it's a short story. Not all short stories are built the same, by the way. So that's another thing. As for Hagstone, by the way, I think A Phantom Lover by Vernon Lee, I think that was definitely my favorite book out of all of the ones that I did finish, and maybe including Brideshead Revisited. And unfortunately, I don't think she has that many fictional fictional works apart from a couple of more short stories other than this, because when I looked up some other collections, they definitely repeated the ones I had already read. But she has a lot of academic papers, so I'm really interested to read those too, because I just liked hearing what she's talking about. So yeah, I think she might have topped a throne for favorite author for me, because I just really enjoyed reading her prose. It was really good writing style, exactly up my alley, and just kind of everything you could be looking for when you're looking for like ghost stories or something supernatural, like of hauntings. And they were all hauntings. Like, I thought it was really fun. With Hagstone, beautiful descriptions of, you know, the sea, the nature, the island, the coast. I think really well done. Storyline did differ a bit from what I went into it expecting, in the sense that the group of Aeneons are not really a cult. There's maybe one culty moment, but that was like played up by themselves. But, you know, they commissioned her to do a work to commemorate them being 30 or 50 years as a group, and she, you know, kind of enters a community. They're quite still reclusive, and not all of them associate with her still. And she's like doing that artwork, getting to know them, some of them, learning some of their stories or confessions, and the leader, de facto kind of leader, who's like kind of running the place, basically making the big decisions. And those tensions are really, really interesting. And beautiful thing is, Gleeson really talks a lot about, you know, the process of art and making a piece. Nell's process, previous projects, she refers a lot to, you know, doing things in situ with the land around her and the environment, and just sort of interacting with that. And a lot of them, I think, are like installation, exhibition, performance pieces. That's Nell's style, rather than like, you know, paintbrush, canvas, which is, you know, I thought those passages were super, super interesting, and I really enjoyed them. And it's not like too much either, like they're not long descriptions. Another thing about this book is majority of the chapters are not longer than 3 pages. Some of them are 1 or 2, so it's actually really easy to go through, and there's not a huge flipping of POVs. It's 70% told through Nell's eyes, and then you have one other character connected with a connecting storyline who will say something but you know, their page won't be longer than, like, their chapter won't be longer than a page or two, so you're not really drawn away from the main core narration. And then yeah, I just think those short chapters actually made it really easy to read, because there is a bit of stream of consciousness thing going on, but like it does cut off and then take you back to the present and what's actually happening, because the chapter ends and Neil's like, well, gotta get back to it. It's also written in third person, so if you like that, if you don't like that, if you want to be aware of it, be aware of it. But I think it really worked for this story. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes third person really doesn't work, but for this it did. Yeah, what else? There are some other storylines, like subplots, that are vaguely connected to Nell, and they add depth to her story and her narration. But yeah, I would super recommend that. And as for Brideshead Revisited, I'm taking it with me. I'll tell you later how it goes. But for now, I think that's the end of this reading vlog, because I'm done. I'm going on holiday in literally an hour. I'm leaving for the airport in an hour, so bye.